Martin McGrath. Today on the show, we're answering some Q&As out of the Facebook group. We have not done it this year so far, so welcome back to the studio for 2026.
It feels like it's been a little while. I was here for the Chrissy party, but it's looking fresh and clean and looking good. Keen to jump into it.
Love it. Hey, Ron said, am I thinking right? I have an investment property and I wish to sell it and move proceeds into my and my spouse's super funds, and then move our funds into a pension stream. Will those funds still be classified as an asset by Centrelink? So there's a couple of things going on there, and I just wanted to include this just as a bit of housekeeping teaching, particularly around what Centrelink say is an asset. Can we move money from the sale of a property into super? Can we save tax? Yeah. We don't know Ron's age. No. We don't. Do you want to assume an age for answering this, or does it not?
Well, and assuming Centrelink, let's assume Centrelink means the Centrelink government age pension, which typically starts at 67. So I'm assuming Ron and spouse are over the age of 67, but Centrelink could be other unemployment benefits under 67. So
we'll assume not unemployed benefits.
Yeah, so therefore, we're in Centrelink focus. Will it be classed an asset? Short answer, yes. It's an asset. Now, is that good or bad? Well, it is what it is. But arguably, whether, once you're over 67, let's say we're both over 67, whether I've got, we don't know the value either, let's call it 500,000. If I've got 500,000 in the bank, 500,000 in investment property, or $500,000 in my super income stream, Centrelink is still counting it as 500,000 in every scenario in that case.
So the question I would probably ask you then, what are the key things that Centrelink do not deem as an asset?
Yep.
Is there like black and white, these 5 things Centrelink will ignore?
Yeah, biggest one and often the biggest asset people have is their home, principal place of residence. So if this is the case of Ron selling home, that would be different, but he's already said his investment home, investment property. So principal place of residence is not counted as a Centrelink asset in most cases.
Yeah. The other side of the not most cases, are we talking about farms?
Big land sizes, those kind of things.
And is it still under 2 hectares?
Yeah. So, and then above that, it's only the proportion that's above that, and it's what is the value of that land, and so
usable portion,
etc. So there's an assessment. So just because it's 5% above it doesn't mean you're completely ruled out. Probably is no material impact. So that's your biggest one. If you've got a funeral bond and you prepaid your funeral, those kind of things, they are exempt assets as well.
Now, and that's the dance, right? Is there an actual limit to the amount of bond? Because you're not going to go, I'm going to put $500,000 in a funeral bond, and then whatever's left over my
estate enjoys.
Estate can have tax-free.
Yes, there's a limit. It goes up every year from Centrelink. At the moment, it's around $16,500 per person.
Yeah.
So as a couple, that's a decent amount in some respect to have in there.
Yeah.
But the way that those things are set up is that it's not accessible for you. That if there's money left over once you're gone, sure. But it's not I'll park it there and I'll pay for a holiday in 5 years' time.
And then change my mind with the funeral home or a prepaid funeral.
So once it's in there, it's locked away, but therefore Centrelink say, well, you can't access it, so we're not going to count that. They're the biggest ones. Your car, all its contents there included. The other biggest thing I would say is super in accumulation phase when you're under 67. Now, slow that down on purpose and specified it because, so money inside of super, if you're under 67 or your spouse is under 67, that does not count as a Centrelink asset as long as it's in what's called accumulation phase and not as an income stream.
Yeah. I mean, the fourth one is a bit of both, and I don't know if you know where I'm going, but annuities.
Yeah, so different type of investment product is, and that's often a partial amount is exempt. So if you move some money into a lifetime annuity, typically the day you set that up, 40% of that is exempt. And then later in life, it drops down or it drops up to 70% exempt or 30% is only assessed.
Now, back to what you said before in tying this in, and typically to Ron's question, Centrelink don't care whether it is $500,000 in the bank or a $500,000 investment property that's owned outright.
Yeah.
because what they do in the background, they apply their quote-unquote deeming rates. So it doesn't matter if it's 500 grand Bitcoin, cash, gold, your investment property.
It's a financial asset. It's a
shares in
financial
CBA.
asset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there's no other real, like, just what are probably the things that Ron would check if they did sell this investment property?
Oh, yeah, lots to consider, and we may not have all
Now,
time
if
for
we
Dave,
move into minimising tax, particularly if they are still working or one of them.
Yeah, so again, we're assuming that they're in age pension status. A few things. If you sell an investment property, might you have to pay some capital gains tax? Yes. Are there some ways to reduce that? Possibly, but depends upon if you're working or not and your age. But that's important. Don't sell it for 500,000 and move it all in, and then a year later you end up with a tax bill. Make sure you plan for that or set that money aside.
So the timing is really important.
Timing and the calculations. And then in turn, are you eligible to contribute to super?
Yeah.
So up until the age of 75, you're eligible to make voluntary non-concessional contributions. But after the age of 75, the only type of contribution you can do is what's called a downsizer from your own home. So if Ron is 76 and looking at this, might be a great idea, but he may not be able to with the government rules.
I just thought, I wrote down number 5, what Centrelink also deem as an asset that we may have forgot.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yeah. What if mummy or daddy wants to give some money away?
Or gifting. Yeah. Gifting, yeah. Up to 10,000 in 3 out of a 5-year period. So you can't do 10,000 every year. You can do it 3 years over 5.
Yeah, cool. So anyway, I think that's probably answered what Ron needs to know. And it's probably more, I would say, Ron, particularly if you already have superannuation and you're looking at this pension and there's a few moving parts, maybe you or your spouse is still working a little bit, it might be a flashpoint for some personal advice.
Yeah, and at least a conversation. Hey, a 15-minute chat. Am I missing anything here? Oh, I didn't realise I could put money in to save on the capital gain, or I didn't realise I'm not eligible to contribute. Is it the right decision or not? It can be personal, but often it's a case of I might be moving an investment asset that's in a personal taxable environment into a tax-free income stream, tax-free for potentially my kids to inherit down the track, but also in retirement, income's important. And property is great. Lots of wealth is created through property, but often it's a low income or yielding asset. It might be generating 2 or 2.5% a year after all of the costs. Perhaps inside of super we're getting a 5 or a 6% income from that, that it might be, let's reassess that property. Is that fitting its purpose in our retirement asset pool?
Love it.